So there's a wide variety of different ways that you can prepare. You can prepare for a month, you can prepare for 2 months, you can prepare for 6 months or a year. So in saying that, we get into kind of the entree buckets, which you guys can come up and look through these. You've got just about anything you can think of as far as emergency preparedness bucket ready to go. From 52 servings, 56 servings, 84 servings, 84 servings of breakfast and entree. You've got 120 serving buckets, 120 serving breakfast buckets. So to put that in perspective, this bucket right here will take a couple for a month. Retails for like $179. I have another bucket that's $259. It's 120 servings. It'll take a couple for like a month and a week. So the cost initially may be a little bit at times overwhelming, but having a month's supply of food that you could either put in a backpack, keep in the trunk of your car in an emergency situation, is probably a pretty good idea. The fruit and vegetables, pretty self-explanatory. All you need is just to reconstitute them with water, or you could just eat them as a snack on the different types of fruits. The vegetables, you just reconstitute with water. I do have some specials I'll talk about that I'm going to do till the end of this month. And then I have two other neat items here. This is the food, fire, and filter bucket. Okay, all of this stuff is in this kit for 99 bucks. So it has a pot with a cook stove, with the InstaFire, with a variety of different meals. It's an excellent little starter kit. So it has a water filter in it. It'll filter 100 gallons of water, similar to the Berkey, just a little bit different product. And then this here's another 72-hour kit. You get all these different meals, and you can kind of look at it. They're $99, but you got enough food for a week and a half, 2 weeks, the last 25 years. So great items. Also, medical kits will be important. So a 10-person medical kit. And then if you want to do a little bit different type of individual items, this is called a Mylar bag. Okay, has anybody seen these before?
We've used them, actually. We packaged the simple.
Okay.
Simple to use.
All you have to do is any type of bulk grain, rice, beans, pasta, you put your product in there, and then you have what's called an oxygen absorber. What these do is they take the oxygen out of the air that's in the food in the bag, and it stores the food for long term. So, and then you can put it into what's called a food grade pail and store it for long term. So you can do anything, any type of grain product. So what you'll do is just write on there when you did it. So you can go out to Sam's if you need some pasta, if you want some rice. Pasta's $5 a bag. Put your bag in there. There's different sized Mylar bags, so you can do different sizes for bulk, and it stores long term. So they got a wide variety of the different bags to do for emergency preparedness.
What makes that plastic a food grade?
It's a 5 mil bag.
No, I mean the bucket. You said
The bucket, the sealable lid,
Oh, okay.
it's got a gasket on the inside. I mean, you could probably just use a
Otherwise,
different
just
type of bucket.
polyethylene, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then you put it in here. Basically, the plastic is made in a way that it won't leach into the food. But typically, it's recommended you put it in the Mylar.
Hey, Wes, do you want to tell them how you seal that bag?
I've got a heat sealer. You can use an iron. I've even heard of them, guys using ladies' curling irons for this. It has to get to a certain temperature. I don't recall what the temperature is right now. So,
We just used an iron and a straight edge out of
Aluminum level.
aluminum level is what we put it over and just ironed right on top of it.
So, the other thing I do is got some sheets up here, some information sheets. I do have a couple ideas for sales sheets. You know, like for a Berkey and a 60 bucket entree, that's 1 month food and water, 1 month food and water for 2, 2 months supply of food and water for 2, 6 months food and supply of water for 2. Any bucket or Berkey that you get, I'm giving away a free vegetable bucket. We're doing that till the end of the month. It's an $80 savings, 160 servings. So that's like two weeks food. So they're just, if you get a chance, stop by the store, we can talk more about it. I do have the top 100 items for an emergency. It's a nice little punch list up here. So I printed that off online, and then got some information on the burpees. And I think I've covered everything. I'd like to invite Bill Garner up now to talk about 72-hour kits, and he builds them here locally. So Bill?
Let's pull this table on.
Okay.
Trying to keep this all on one video.
Okay, I'm Bill Garner. Been around here for a long time now. I'm in the State Republican Party, and I get some information from you guys too. We won't hold that against you. Anyway, one thing that I've been into the disaster preparedness for many years now, and more recently I've started a little home-based company putting together bug-out bags. How many of you know what a bug-out bag is? Oh, almost everybody. Okay. How many of you have a bug-out bag? Only about half of those. So, well, you know what it is. We live, like Wes said, we live in a disaster-prone area. Probably our three major disasters would be to have a flood, to have an ice storm, or to have an earthquake, and maybe a tornado. Everything but we do sometimes get the tail end of a hurricane coming through here. So disaster can strike. You can be without water. Your car can stall on a trip between here and St. Louis, and people have actually starved to death or frozen to death in their cars because they didn't have some sort of a little preparedness kit. So whether you buy one that's commercially available like these here, or you just put together some stuff from your house, you need to have something in your car, something to keep you warm. This particular kit has these little foil Mylar blankets. Now they're very thin, they're essentially disposable, but they reflect about 90% of your body heat. So they will help keep you warm. And you can even put that under your clothes. Wrap yourself in it and then put your clothes around it and prevent freezing to death if you were to run off the road in the middle of the night in a snowstorm. So there's lots of reasons. It's not just that we're preparing for doomsday, but we're preparing for a personal disaster or an area disaster. Now what the types of items that go into a bug-out bag, and this is what I call a starter bag, because this has a lot of basic items that will get you by, but you want to customize it. For example, have extra underwear, warm socks, perhaps a walking. If you normally wear sneakers, you're okay, or work boots, you're okay. But if you're wearing nice shoes, you may not want to walk 20 miles.
In your
so
stilettos?
So have a snow boots or whatever you need for that particular season. But in the event, let's say, for instance, there was either some sort of bacterial or contamination, TB outbreak, SARS, H1N1, or any of those HN viruses, you might want to have some sort of a N95 mask. This filters out about 95% of any airborne particles. And this is just a little cheap one. They come in all kinds. And, as long as it's tight, make sure you have a tight fit. If you have a big bushy mustache like this gentleman up here, might not get such a tight fit, but try to get as tight a fit as you can. And it's simple to just pull over your head. You've probably seen doctors and nurses wearing these things. I work at St. Francis in the OR, and I wear them all day long. So air is your first priority is to have good air. Now, the second priority actually is not what you think. You know, a lot of people think, well, then water and then food, but shelter would actually be more important in a disaster situation to get you out of the elements. And so, in the pack, this particular pack, a tarp, and it's got grommets on it. This is paracord. It may look very small, but it's tested to over 550 pounds. That's why they call it 550 paracord. So you can take this and these and tie yourself up, lean-to, or make yourself a tent, and get, like I say, out of the wind, out of the elements, and you can survive. Or you can, if you have a little tent, like a backpacking tent, you can put that in here, and then you can use this for a brown cloth or a shade over your tent. This is a poncho. They make little thin ones like you get when you go to a football game or something and all of a sudden it's raining. Those little cheap ones, but those are kind of disposable. You might get a couple of uses out of them, but do have yourself a good poncho or to keep the rain out. You may have to actually walk in the rain. So having one that's big enough to fit over your backpack and keep you dry, at least from the knees up. So shelter, and I guess you might consider putting this as part of the shelter too, these Mylar blankets. That's your second priority. Now water, Wes talked about the sport Berkey over there, and really that's like the gold standard. These are water packs that I put in the bags. You can get these, or if you're willing to just remember to trade them out, just put bottled water that you get at the grocery store in your pack. Now these are sealed up, and they're like they have a 5-year life, but quite frankly, I think as long as it's never punctured, it would probably last much longer than that. And this will get you started, but quite frankly, you need about a gallon of water per person per day. So you can't carry, a gallon of water weighs about 8 pounds. You can't carry around 3 gallons of water for 3 days. But, so you've got to find water if you're walking away from, say, wherever you were to your house. This is a small, more economical carbon filter. This will not kill bacteria or viruses or amoeba or anything that are in dirty water. You want to get some chlorine drops, Clorox, or iodine drops, and put in there to actually sterilize it. But this filters out the particle matter, and this is you can fill this up and carry it with you. The Sport Berkey, on the other hand, has a silver impregnated carbon filter, and it'll filter out everything. I'm a firm believer in Berkey. I've got a few of them at the house. Okay, our food bars. Now these, I think Wes showed you those over there. Those are SOS, and these are Daytrex. Two different manufacturers. They taste a little different. This one is kind of an apple cinnamon bar. Wes is going to serve some food over here, and I'll also open up one of these bars if you guys want to try a sample of it. But this comes. This is 7,200 calories, 2,400 in each of these three that comes in a bug-out bag. And if you're like a kid, might not need that many calories. Even women can get by with fewer calories than that. But if you're straining yourself, if you're walking, you're carrying a backpack or other stuff that you might be carrying in a disaster, you may need more calories than that. But this is generally 2,400 calories per day is a pretty good amount, and it'll get you by. I've got a little reserve extra on me that I can rely on, as well as my Daytrex bars. Okay. Other stuff that are in here, sanitation, tissues for sanitation, and first aid kit. You want to have a basic first aid kit, And you also, if you are on any life-sustaining medicines or medicines that you just can't do without, your antihypertensives or insulin, things like that, you want to add those into your bag too. You might have let's say you're a diabetic and you have a little bit left, but it would be enough to get you through 3 or 4 days. Then put that in your bug out bag along with some syringes and some alcohol swabs, and you've got your diabetes covered while you're going through your disaster. Another thing that might be good, and certainly it's warming, winter or summer, and you can be useful to cook food or boil water, is fire. And there's a lot of ways besides rubbing 2 sticks together to build a fire, but my favorite is the Bic. And we also have waterproof matches. And this is a fire striker that you have to get something to strike, but you can shave off some of this magnesium here and then strike this little rod here, and it creates a spark. It'll light the magnesium, or if you have some dry grass, things like that, it'll catch it on fire. And you know, that's the hard way, but it's also there because what if the Bic doesn't work? Leaks, the butane leaks out, or the matches, you've used all the matches, you know. Another thing that comes in this is light. This is a small but pretty powerful LED light. It's 300 to 400 lumens, and it's got 2 modes. This one here, a little less power usage. They don't use all that much anyway. And then this is a strobe in the event that maybe you want to wave somebody down, or you know. And this thing will reach about 300-400 feet, so it's a very serious flashlight. Compact though and light, and I put 2 batteries in here so you have a backup. This is a little booklet that I wrote that tells you what's in your bag and also what to add to your bag that we talked about earlier, extra socks, underwear, things like that. This is a military style lensatic compass. More than likely you're not going to get lost, but in the event that you do, you can use this to at least, if you know there's a road going east and west that's on north of you, you can go straight north. You can, if you get, say there's a tower or a water, tower, you can actually line this thing up and find out what your heading would be to get to there, and then work your way in that direction. So you can use it to get you from point A to point B, and it's metal. It's a good solid one. Another thing that probably the most useful tool that you can have in a survival situation is a decent knife. This is a Bear Grylls knife made by Gerber. There's many of them out there, or you may have a pocket knife just to throw into the bag if you create your own. But you want it to be sharp. Having a way to sharpen it would be nice in your bag, but if you're just going through a few days of survival, probably it's sharp enough to take care of those few days. And I guess the last thing in this list is this is a little whistle, which also has a thermometer, a little LED light itself, and another compass. So this would be, in the event that you were camping with your kids and they wanted to go out in the woods, having one of these handy, if they got lost, they could start blowing their whistle, and you would hear them and locate them. Now I have another one that's an orange one. You've probably seen those little camping whistles, and they actually have a feature that I like better than these. The matches will fit into the orange one. They won't fit in this unless you trim them down, because the inner part of this one, this is a 7-in-1 whistle. It's got a lens, mirror, a little storage. You can put a little paper, there if you need to write a note, which is not a bad thing to have in one of these kits. Now there are 3 of them up here. This one, all this stuff came out of this one, and the same stuff is in the black bag. This is the bag itself. This is my primary bag, and it's a very cushiony bag. It's small enough that it's not overwhelmingly heavy, but it's got what they call a molly system. It's got these straps that you can strap other little bags onto it to expand its size. And it's about a 40-liter bag. In the event that you want to put a water drinking bladder, like a Camelback bladder, that's what's in these small bags. This one will accommodate it. The hose just comes through a hole right here in the top and attaches to the side, and you just drink as you go. Now these packs do not have the water in them because they have that bladder. You fill that up with, I think in this case, about 2 liters of water, and you've got much more than you have here. 2 liters will get you, it'll keep you alive for a day anyway. It's optimum to have more, but anyway, so there's no water in this one, and it's a smaller bag, a little bit lighter. There's no tarp, but the other stuff is in here. So anyway, so these are the 2 different bags that I sell. This one is an old Army surplus bag, but this is probably the best bag on the table because it's built by the government, and the zippers, well, they have high standards when it comes to spending your money. But like the zipper on this is the best zipper you'll ever find, and this are, like I say, this mil spec Army surplus, good quality bag. Maybe not quite as comfortable as this one, but anyway, that's my spiel. Whether you buy a commercial bag or just put together a duffel bag, get something. Okay, it can save your life. If not you, it could be your wife, it could be your kids. It could save the whole family in the event of a disaster. Even if you only have one, these food bars will go a long way. So, any questions or other things? There's plenty more things you could put in here, but the main thing is have something.
Bill, are your bags available through Crisis Food?
Yeah, West Stock. Anyway, I'm gonna pop open a bag of these bars and put them over here, and you just have yourself a little piece of it, just to see what the taste is like.
I also have some of the emergency food samples available over here in the trays. So,
Wes, you got anything else to add?
no, I appreciate you guys inviting me out. These are some very basic things. I think they're a very practical approach to where we live and the things that are going on. The weather has sure been extreme lately. So I think having a preparedness kit, whether it's a week or a month or 6 months, is probably a pretty good idea. So,
All right. Thank you very much.